Hey, did you miss us? Welcome back to Talkin Far, Far Away here from the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network. And on this episode, I'm sitting across, of course, from Mr. Scott Inch over on the other side of the pond. And Scott, we're discussing something from Vanity Fair. And like we said, even before we went on here, I mean, unless you're Scott Mancy, really getting into these covers and everything, but I'm telling you, Vanity Fair killed it with the Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi covers. And I think probably to start off, like which one do you really like? And it's like there's just so many great covers here that I think we're just going to jump into the discussion.
Yeah, there are at least four covers, four special edition ones. You've got the Dark Side, the Resistance, and then you've got two that I really like. You've got Luke Skywalker with Rey, and then you've got, which is fitting, Carrie Fisher,
Mhm.
Princess Leia or General Leia Organa on the cover of her own. They feel like very powerful, very don't mess with me kind of person. Um, but just to see Luke Skywalker and marketing now, where I should get him in some stuff compared to Force Awakens, where he was like nowhere to be seen. Um, unless you got the pop figure, which was the only thing, or
Yeah.
a T-shirt came out at Celebration last year. But yeah, those are the two covers that that I love, and I would put on my wall.
Yeah, I mean the two covers that stick out the most for me, of course, are the one with specifically the one with Kylo Ren, General Hux, and Phasma, because we see the other side to them. I mean, definitely between, of course, the new look Kylo Ren. I think we all knew at some point we were going to get that, and even Phasma to a certain extent having that staff. I mean, that was really cool. And can I just say it? A little Game of Thrones ish with that staff there, Gwendolyn Christie. So it was kind of an interesting little feel to it. A little bit more of like this medieval feel to it, which was very cool. I'm not saying it's going to be Transformers Last Night, like a fake prophecy about them doing something that's involved with like King Arthurian time. It ain't happening. But there's some really great stuff on these covers, and I think probably you bring it up, Scott, and I'm glad you did, because Luke Skywalker is such a focus heading into Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. And since we only got him for a brief amount of time there at the end of Force Awakens, like literally just like a second of him. And then just to get him on these covers, obviously we're ramping up for Luke Skywalker, it looks like.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get tons and tons of Luke Skywalker, especially with his excellent stare. I mean, we all know he's got a great stare
Mm-hmm.
doing Star Wars now at the end of Force Awakens. But yeah, it's striking. He's a Jedi. He's got that Jedi feel to him. Um, I just can't say any more than that. I mean, there's one picture that did, and I'm sure we've all seen it, and I posted it on Facebook when I saw it. Was Luke and Leia together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I had a tear in my eye when I saw that.
Mm. Yeah, between Luke and Leia together, Scott, and the shot of Carrie Fisher and Billy Lord,
Yeah,
I think for Star Wars fans, that was like, oh, okay, let me take a step back. Let me get some tissues. Oh, like waving ourselves, making sure we're going to be okay. And
yeah,
I think we have to anticipate we're going to have those moments in this film. And I think it's so great that Vanity Fair kind of prepped us for that. Like, yeah, you're going to see these people reunited. Of course, again, it was confirmed through Star Wars that these twins are going to reunite, Luke Skywalker and Leia Organa, of course. And it's just going to be a nice thing to see on the screen once again with everything that has happened. And bravo to Vanity Fair for focusing on that in this. A lot of family. That's one thing that I came out of these covers, Scott, was that
yeah.
there seems to be a sense of family, whether it's in a very dark tone, like between Hux, Ren, and Phasma, or whether it is the lightheartedness. I mean, even to a certain extent, I'm going to be curious to hear your thought on this. The family of Poe Dameron and Finn and Rose. That was kind of a cool little relationship that I think they're kind of teasing at there.
I think they are. I mean, we don't know too much about Rose. We know she's an engineer in the Resistance. Um, there has been talk or discussions about the fact that she might be going on a adventure with Finn, but even when you watch Force Awakens, Finn and Poe have just got this kind of brotherly love. You saw that when They escaped on the TIE fighter, and then when they reunited at Resistance Space, they just hugged each other. Just so glad to see each other. So yeah, it's family. Really, the Resistance is a family. They're joined. They all fight for the same cause to stop the First Order. I was going to say Empire, but that was 30 years earlier. Um, to talk about really just quickly about the dark side, Kylo Ren's got a cape,
Yeah.
which is pretty awesome. And I don't think we need a mask for Kylo Ren. It would be cool if we get to see that mask. I mean, I've got quite a few figure arts and hot toys and figures of Kylo Ren with the mask, and I'd be quite disappointed if he gets rid of that mask, because then I feel like I've wasted money buying it. But yeah, the dark side Phasma. Hopefully, we do get to see her without the helmet on in Last Jedi. We'll just maybe see. But yeah, just go by the covers. They look fantastic. And Fanny Fair did this 2 years ago with when they released that first cover of Harrison Ford, Chewie, Rey, and all that on the Millennium Falcon bridge.
Mm. Yeah, it was a really cool cover. I remember seeing those when they first hit the stand and everything. I kind of got that same kind of feeling with this, but it was very different then because we were being reintroduced to this universe, and it was kind of cool. And I guess even with the amount of time that we have in between these films, you are kind of being introduced back into it again, and that's kind of the nice little nod that they're making here, is that, yep, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi is right around the corner, guys. You got to be ready for it, and you got to be ready to go. So that's really, really cool. And I think these covers did such a good job. There's been a lot of speculation and a lot of theory. And I think throughout the Star Wars community, I think even in the podcasting community, we're all in agreement that there are two specific ones that really stood out to us. And that was DJ, which is Benicio del Toro's character. And then, of course, we finally got an answer to who Laura Dern is playing in this film. I have to admit, those two alone are visually stunning in many, many ways, especially Laura Dern's. And if you guys have read my article, I just did the part 2, which is basically an admittance that, yeah, I was wrong. I was completely off. You guys can slam me on that. No, I'm kidding. But there was a lot of great information about who she's going to play. And obviously, Vice Admiral Holdo is going to be her character specifically. And Scott, I don't know. I mean, that picture alone really stood out to me because we're seeing Laura Dern. I remember her from Jurassic Park. I did not expect the purple hair with the purple dress. It was very visually stunning.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get a Hunger Games kind of feel for the hair. I'm looking at the picture right now, and it's just, there's something captivating about it. Like, you've kind of got like the screen she's standing in front of is kind of like one of those projector screens, and it's just the brown and the purple, pink or purple, it kind of melds in well together. I'm not an art critic, so I'm just going by what I'm seeing.
Yes, you are. What are you talking about?
Just a tiny bit. But the Vice Admiral Holdo, I'm waiting to see what kind of, if she has a clash with Leia, or is she on Leia's side, how she's got to deal with the First Order. There's very little we do know, but I just hope she's in a lot of it. I've seen bits of Jurassic Park. I'm going to admit I haven't seen all of it because I don't like seeing people get eaten. I'm that kind of person. It puts me off watching Jurassic Park, even though I have seen Lost World, but that's a different story. So yeah, she has been in a lot of great movies, but yeah, I'm waiting to see what she does in this movie.
All right, let's talk about DJ, Scott, because there's just so much out there about this guy. I mean, DJ means Dark Jedi. DJ could possibly be Ezra. I'm going to throw it over to you on that one because you and I discussed this before we went on live here, is that there does seem to be, and Brian Fontaine knows exactly what we are talking about, off on the side of his cheek, there seems to be a scar there that looks awfully familiar to us who follow Rebels and follow the Star Wars universe. Now, personally, I'm just going to say it before I throw it over to you, I think it's a little bit of a stretch. I think for them to try to include Ezra into this universe, they would need a lot more. They would have to tell a story about what happened after Rebels. Maybe they have a plan for it. Of course, in Star Wars and Lucasfilm, we trust. Maybe they'll tell that story. But Scott, specifically when it comes to DJ, what are your thoughts on this character? Because the first thing I thought of was like, hey, I know how to order a Heineken kind of attitude with him.
He's just it's the dark, it's the black hole, it's he kind of looks like he's even though he's in the Marvel movies playing the Collector, but he's got a different feel from that. He just looks like maybe kind of like what Han was like at first, looking at kind of rogue, don't uh, piss me off. Sorry for swearing, but kind of like don't. I know what I'm trying to say. It's just trying to get the right words. Don't like deal. Don't threaten me. Don't mess with me. Kind of feel.
Mm.
Um, Going with the Ezra theory, I'm not swaying that way. I know Brian is because of the scar in your shoulder. It's because of the scar on the left side of the cheek. But by the time Last Jedi comes out, Rebels is still going to be on the air unless they finish it off before the movie comes out and just do a full stretch of 15 weeks. You could do it, like
Mm.
really, unless the series finale is two-parter but shares on the same day, so it would be 14 weeks. It could work, but you would really, really need to explain that 35 year gap between the end of Rebels and the various in The Last Jedi. And also, Rebels, it is about Ezra's story, really, in a way. But DJ, there's been a lot of talk about it being a Dark Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll wait to see
Yeah.
about that. But I thought with GD, I thought, is he going to be doing like a disco jet? You know, getting some beats on, get some headphones, just like getting in the club, like Jabba's old palace, like, who's up for a party?
Yeah, it's almost like it's Saturday Night Fever, but not Saturday Night Fever with this character. And again, it's so funny because I feel like Benicio del Toro. Every time I see him in a shot, I get a similar kind of face out of him. Again, like the Heineken commercials or anything.
Yeah,
He has this grittiness to him already that whenever you even add, how do I word this correctly? If you add even more grittiness to the shot, it's like, whoa, wait a second. This guy's pretty BA. He is going to kick some A really hard. And it's really cool to see that. I mean, just in some of these shots. And I think whether he becomes a Dark Jedi, whether he's Ezra, whether he's something completely different than we were even thinking, which is most likely what it's going to be. It's going to be something way beyond what Star Wars fans and what all of us here at the network are thinking. It's going to be really interesting to see how this character plays out. And again, we won't know until we walk into that theater in December and experience Benicio del Toro for the first time in a Star Wars movie. That's what has me psyched the most, is that we see Laura Dern in a Star Wars movie. We see Benicio del Toro in a Star Wars movie. And it's just so great. We have such a great cast heading into December, Scott.
we certainly do. And just one more thing, I think he could play a kind of Cad Bane kind of character.
Ah.
Those who don't know who Cad Bane is, go and watch the season 2 premiere of Rebels. You'll get a really, really good story there. Not Rebels, the Clone Wars. And you'll get a really, really good story there. But yeah, he could play a kind of Cad Bane kind of character.
You know, I recently talked with Sean from the network about this Sean May show. Of course, go and follow him across social media. But I recently talked to him about that. I'm so glad you bring this up. And I was kind of thinking about it when we're talking here, Scott. I'm like, I wonder if he could play it like that kind of quiet bounty hunter role, but not associated with the First Order in any way. Somebody, again, he may have a grudge against Han Solo and not know that Han is dead now. And maybe this is something that Finn and Poe and Rose have to now fill in the gap with, because, you know, obviously Han had a debt. We saw that in Force Awakens. He had a debt with Kanja Club. And and whatever that's was he Scottish? Was the guy Scottish that was looking for Han Solo there? I can't remember specifically. Yeah, but when it comes to DJ specifically, I think there's just so much different stuff that we could see play out in terms of what he could end up becoming. And you brought it up, Scott. That Cad Bane role would be really, really cool to see play out. And I think, another thing that this Vanity Fair magazine brought up, which I think is really interesting, and please make sure if you can get to your local booksellers and your local magazine sellers, make sure to pick up one of these great copies with the covers on them. Make sure, I know I'm definitely going for at least one of them, probably the Leia one, because I just love that cover so much. But I think that there's another thing that it lays out, and it's not really in picture or anything else, but it kind of lays out a little bit about Snoke a little bit and how we're going to see, not necessarily his progression, but it kind of teases him a little bit. And of recently, Scott, of course, when something comes out about a new film, more stuff starts surfacing. And could be possibly spoilers. We don't like to necessarily talk about them, but we do sometimes. And we're going to let you know right now that we're kind of getting into that. But there were some leaked Lego photos of a couple of the upcoming sets that we're going to see come forth Friday. And I'm really curious, Scott, because somebody even got so close on a shot that we possibly could have seen for the first time a Snoke Lego figure. And I know you and I talked about it ahead of time before coming on here, was that I didn't know what to think at that, because obviously he looked very different than what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, when you look up at Clover, he's wearing an orange jumpsuit, applying to be on with be in with the village people. So YMCA, come on, come on in.
Yeah, exactly.
Or in the Navy, whichever one goes well. But yeah, like we got a quick look at him. We do know that he's not human.
Mm-hmm.
You and I are theorizing, you and I kind of spoke about it, but we're not going to talk about it because if you haven't read a certain book, you're best reading that certain book first before you listen to what we're going to. We're not talk about it, but yeah, read that book. But yeah, he's not human, so it's quite blurry as well. You can't really see that much. Other than I feel that all you can see was the orange jumpsuit.
Mm-hmm.
That's all really I can say. Really can say about it. There's not that detail until we actually get an official photo of the Lego toy that it's going to be associated with to see it. But we do know that it was part of a Star Destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice that. So whether he's going to be on the same Star Destroyer as Kylo Ren or he's flying through space on a Star Destroyer, he's not pinpointed in a location like the Emperor was on Coruscant and the Imperial Palace. Who knows? Hopefully we get some answers to that very, very soon.
You know what the best part about leaks like this is that they're not completely spoilery, because the funny thing about Lego sets, and I think the collectors here on the network really understand this, is that they do release images of what these boxes are going to look like, and they kind of tease at what might be in these boxes. But we've seen this play out before, and then the sets hit the stores, and they're completely different than what was originally leaked. Some of the things are taken out, some things are added to them. I think it's going to be really cool to see how that plays out, and I think it's going to be curious to see once we start getting more and more information about Snoke. Of course, when it comes to collecting, of course, make sure to follow everybody here at the network, like Brian Fontaine, Chris Letty, Jared Chilson, Jim Roberge, all those people, because they know specifically when it came to Supreme Leader Snoke and what we're going to see come Force Friday, there's been a lot of this leaked information that the name associated with the products is Victor. And if you can go and find these spoilers anywhere, Scott, and it's kind of cool because one recently kind of talked about Victor's like it was like light sword, and I was like, interesting. And I know we're kind of spewing away from the Vanity Fair stuff, but I think it's funny because we didn't get any of this stuff until after those Vanity Fair covers and this online article specifically came out. It was almost like this mass exodus of information that suddenly followed it. So I don't know specifically how you feel about this, but it kind of seems like we've followed that trend even with Force Awakens. When we started seeing more and more of the Entertainment Weekly magazine covers, more information started getting leaked, and more information started being discussed across the Star Wars community.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of information does kind of come out, like, because we've had Celebration, we've had information there, then we get the Vanity Fair stuff. Then you're right, Robin, we start to get bits and pieces, but we also need to remember that companies like Lego, Hasbro, and Vanity Fair, Entertainment Weekly, they all go to the set well and truly in advance to get a look at what the character's going to be, what the design, what the sets look like, so they can prepare to sell the toys and other merchandise with it. So that's how we get to see these. And there are people who work with Lego who take pictures and then post them online, which is great that we get to see some stuff. But at the same time, there's a lot of people out there who don't want spoilers, who want to go into these movies not knowing anything. And it just takes one wrong clip, and all of a sudden you're seeing something you don't want to see. You're kind of spoiled by it. I mean, we've got D23 coming up just over a month away. I'm sure we're going to get maybe something from The Last Jedi, but hopefully it's going to be more about Han Solo movie. And once something from Han Solo, we're going to start. I mean, we've already seen it with Han Solo's. You click on one thing and you end up seeing a few pictures of Alden Ehrenreich as dressed as Han Solo. The device is just watch what you're clicking on. But if you want to see that stuff, that's up to you. But try and avoid it as best as possible so you can be more surprised when you go into the movie.
Yeah, I think we talk about that a lot here on the network, and I think we have that discussion as a network, and we kind of say it to our fans too at any time we're at a live event or whether it's here on the network of shows. It's one of those things, if you're going to go look for spoilers, you can find them. They're pretty much out in the open, and you're going to be able to find them pretty quickly. But if you don't want to look for them, just be aware that, hashtags like hashtag Star Wars on Twitter can sometimes be dangerous, and some of these other hashtags can sometimes be dangerous. We live in a very different world, as you know, Scott, and we live in a place where information is consistently being thrown at us. And it's not like back in 1977 where it was so fresh, it was so new, you didn't know anything ahead of time, maybe other than a couple newspaper articles and maybe some magazine stuff like you see today. That really hasn't changed much. But we live in a very different world now, and information just is readily available whenever you want it. And it, like you said, Scott, you said it beautifully. You just got to be careful if you don't want to know that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's even like that 20 years ago in 1997, where the internet was just starting for those youngsters. Yes, we had no internet when I was growing up sometimes, and we didn't have any access to information like this. You saw it in papers, you saw it in a magazine, and then you saw it in the cinema. That's only 20 years ago, even probably 15 years ago. Yes, I'm an old fossil, and I'm only 31. But yeah, as you said it as well, Robin, just be very, very careful about clicking on to certain things.
That's one of the things here at the network all the time is that we let you know when we're doing spoiler talk. We let you know when we're going to dig deep into some stuff, because sometimes, of course, we're Star Wars fans. We run into the stuff at the same time, and we talk about it if we know it. And that's the best part about what we do, Scott, is that if we run into a spoiler, we kind of go to each other and we're kind of like, hey, did you run into this too? Maybe we can have a spoilery conversation and just let fans know that, other fans who run into it, that we're going to have this conversation. And it really is a great conversation. And I think Vanity Fair alone, let's get back to that, because I think these covers came at a great time, because there's been kind of a lack of information for such a period of time coming out of Star Wars Celebration, that it's kind of nice. It's like, yeah, they're still talking about it. It's still being marketed, and there's still a general interest. And I think, again, they hired the best photographer, one of the best photographers in the world, to do these cover shots and all the photos in this. And I'm just so excited for when this film comes out at this point.
Yeah, I mean, these covers are beautiful, and I want at least two of them on my wall. But yeah, you said it perfectly, Robin. It's been quite quiet, but we're getting information now. And come after Comic-Con into August, and then Force Friday, you're going to get tons of information that I'll be like, where'd I go? How am I going to eat all this information? There'll be tons of information coming shortly after. We're coming into that spell in the summer where they want to keep things so close right now because of the conventions that are coming up. But once those conventions are out of the way, bam, you're going to get tons and tons and tons of information.
And that's when you guys get into the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network. You follow everything happening here at the podcast network. I mean, just a lot of great stuff happening, a lot of great new shows here, a lot of great, especially to make the jump coming up this summer, Scott. We're going to be able to have those little news scoops for the people who want to know when they get released. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be great to see when these physical Vanity Fair covers come out. I know I'm going to be at my magazine seller, and I'm going to be picking up a copy, and I'm going to be looking through it. And, of course, once again, looking at the cover on it because they are just so great. Any final thoughts when it comes to the Vanity Fair covers here, Scott?
I'll sum them up in one word. Beautiful.
I like this. One word to sum them up. Stunning.
There we go.
There we go. That's the way to close it out. All right, Mr. Scott Inch, I think it is that time of the show. It's a little thing we like to call
plug time.
That's right, plug time. Where can the good people find you across social media?
You can find me on Facebook at Scott Inch or on Twitter at Scottish85, and I'm currently reading the new John Urso book, Rebels Rising, so getting into that. And Robin, guess what?
What's that?
We're less than 4 months away till I come over.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Scott Inch's great American vacation. He's coming to Seacoast, New Hampshire, and to New England. We're only 3 months away. How beautiful is that? So make sure to keep it locked with everything at hashtag Scott's Great American Vacation. It's a real thing, guys. It's a real thing. I'm not lying to you. So make sure to check that out across social media. Check everything with Scott Inch. Also, make sure, if you haven't read his articles over the Canon Book Files, make sure to check that out. It's really great Star Wars content to dig into. It's been out there for a while, but it's worth many, many reads for you if you want to get into the Canon books. Am I right, Scott?
It certainly is, and I will be working on the second one very, very soon. The second part of it, actually, very, very soon.
Beautiful, beautiful. You guys can follow me over on Twitter at Mr. Vote Tweets. Make sure to head on over to Instagram. Follow me at The Official Vote. Head on over to Facebook. Send me a friend request. Please make sure to like the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network page on Facebook. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Brick City SWPC. And please make sure to subscribe on iTunes to the podcast network. We even have a survey going around. We want to know your feedback on everything happening here at the network, what shows you like, what things you don't like, which is a lot of stuff. And also, who is your favorite host? No, I'm kidding. We're not going to get into that because guess what? We're all your favorite hosts. We're all your favorite personalities. And we're all here in a galaxy far, far away. So thank you guys for listening to Talkin' Far, Far Away with Scott Inch and, of course, myself, Robin Vote. And as we say here on the network, may the force be with you.
Always.